Hello and welcome to another edition of the Osceola's Seminole Sidelines. My name is Pat Burnham, and it is the traditional National Signing Days, the first Wednesday in February, and this is going to be a short show, more than likely. FSU has signed 3 players already today, and Antonio Cromartie Jr., Chaston Brown, paperwork just came through and is now official, and obviously Chavez Thompson, who goes as Sandman, an offensive lineman from South Florida, has also signed, which leaves us to the last question of the day, which is 4-star defensive end Zahir Mathis going to sign with Florida State today. So it's down between him, Florida State, and Maryland for Zahir. It's been an interesting recruiting process for him. Zahir was here January 10th. January 4th, then was at Maryland this past weekend. He was supposed to have official visits to UCLA in between FSU and Maryland, had to cancel that because of the wildfires. Was supposed to go to Michigan. That visit ended up getting canceled. So right now it's gone back and forth a little bit over the course of the last 24 hours. A lot of people think he is leaning towards Maryland. That is my understanding, is that he's leaning towards Maryland. But I've talked to multiple sources, one last night around 9:30, who lives in that area of the country, familiar with his recruitment, that says he had not made a final decision. And then, of course, this morning talked to a source in Tallahassee who said that they didn't think it was a done deal, that it was going to be a challenge, but that he had not basically had not told Florida State no yet. He is supposed to commit or sign at 2:00 on his social media. It says commit. I don't think he's going to drag this thing out any longer, but who knows? Anyway, since it is solo today, if you have questions, please let me know. It's going to be an interesting day, but let's just start with the first commitment. Obviously, Antonio Cromartie Jr. is the son of Antonio Cromartie Sr., and he was lightly recruited out of high school. He had offers from Southeast Missouri State, Wofford, and one other FCS school. Florida State offered him late. He's listed as a cornerback by Rivals, but he played mostly nickel and free safety for Carrollton High School. He's about 6 foot, 170, 6'1", 170. I think that he figures in more as a special teams guy, particularly early. And even though he's listed as a cornerback, I think he would be more suited to be a safety in a defense that plays a lot of zone coverage. So we'll see what happens with that. But obviously another legacy. Legacies have been a big part. Legacies from players that played in the golden age of Florida State football, meaning 1987 to around 2000, 2003. There's a lot of those kids that are playing now, and Antonio Cromartie Jr. Joins that list. But he is. It was a late offer. Easy recruitment for Florida State. I don't think there was any doubt that once he was offered by Florida State, this is where he was coming. Chavez Thompson, an interesting guy. He's a smaller offensive lineman. He's about 6'1", probably 290 pounds, somewhere in there. They've got him listed as 270. Looks a little bit bigger than that on film, but he played at Cocoa High School. He committed to Oregon early in his career, then decommitted, and then was committed to FAU before Florida State got in on him. He had been offered by new FSU offensive line coach Herb Hand when Herb was at UCF, so there was some familiarity with that, and that's kind of been a theme. Not only with recruiting with Florida State in the high school ranks, but also the portal, the relationships with the new guys on Mike Norvell's staff have had an impact on what Florida State did in the portal, what Florida State is doing with it to end its 2025 class. And obviously, when you start looking at the 2026 class, the same thing can be said. You're starting to see the influence of Herb Hand, Gus Malzahn, Tim Harris Jr., Tony White, Terrence Knighton, and Evan Cooper on the recruiting trail. So, but Shavaz, who likes to go by Sandman, 6'1", 270. He's a physical kid. Obviously, when you project him to the major college level, you're going to have some questions about pass protection because of arm length. But as far as a run blocker, that would be his strength. Now, you would have to be really be a hardcore recruiting person to go where I'm going to go to try to explain who I think top end Shavaz Thompson could be or Sandman Thompson could be. When I was at the University of South Florida, I was there from 2006 to 2013. We signed a kid out of Lake City, Columbia High School named Samson Jennis, almost exact dimensions, 6'1". Samson was a little bit bigger coming out of high school. Samson was 300 pounds as a senior. So their physical qualities are the same. Samson. All right. So I think we got breaking news. Zahir Mathis has committed to Maryland. All right. Well, that was the main reason we were doing the show. He has committed to Maryland. And that was, not kind of a surprise. I thought the longer it played out, the better chance that Florida State had in that. All right, we have frozen. I thought the longer this played out with Zahir Mathis, the better chance Florida State had. But anyway, so if you missed that, the screen froze on me. Apologize about that. I'm not sure whether that was operator error or just the computer. But Zahir Mathis has committed to Maryland. That was the big question of the day. But to go back to Sandman Thompson, as I was saying, he reminds me of a kid we signed at University of South Florida named Samson Jennis back in the late 2000s. Samson was a two-star prospect, lightly recruited, did not have a ton of offers. In fact, might have had less offers than Sandman did. But Samson would go on to start 3 years for us. I do think this is, you're rolling the dice on a guy that doesn't have the height and length that a lot of offensive linemen in major college football do. But, if you go to theosceola.com, we've got our breakdown of Chavez and obviously of Antonio Cromartie Jr. and of Chaston Brown, who I said just signed before we came on to this show. So FSU will end up bringing 3 new prospects into the fold for 2025, and that closes out the class for 2025, we think. There's always could be a late edition, but right now the team ranking, after all those kids have signed with Florida State, including going back to December, the team ranking for this recruiting class by Rivals is 17, and Chaston Brown was the latest prospect to sign. And after Zahir, he was the most anticipated signing of this February class. Now, Chaston is 6'9", 270, a dual sport athlete, played basketball. When you watch his film, his huddled highlights, you can certainly see that he has benefited from his footwork on the basketball courts. He's a huge, long kid. Again, another kid that had been offered by Herb Hand at UCF and ended up committing to UCF when Gus Malzahn resigned and Herb Hand left. He decommitted from UCF, and obviously the rumors right away were that Florida State was going to try to get in on him. which they did. His only official visit after he decommitted from Florida State was after from UCF was to Florida State. So there wasn't a whole lot of intrigue with this particular prospect. The only thing that was intriguing about Chasten, he had put on social media that he was going to announce at 11 a.m. this morning. And when it's recruiting and something doesn't happen on time, you always wonder what might be going on. But really, out of the group they signed today, I think Chasten has the best chance of being a real player at Florida State. He is very raw but very athletic. 6'9", long arms should be an advantage in pass protection. The downside to that is a lot of tall guys with really long arms struggle in the run game, but he's going to be an outside guy at one of the tackle spots. But when you watch him, he still looks small for a 6'9" guy as far as just body weight, but he does have the frame to put on a lot of additional weight, and he has a physical mentality. I think that's the one thing that all three of these guys bring to the table is Chasten tries to get after people. Sandman really loves to finish blocks. And then when you watch Antonio Cromartie Jr., his tape, he's very good in run support. He's physical. So I think you've got guys with football mentalities when they're between the lines. So I think it was a good day for Florida State. They added some depth, and listen, I think all three of these guys' best football is ahead of them once they get to college. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys develop. But yes, Florida State has now signed 23 players from the high school ranks or high school or junior college ranks to their 2025 recruiting class, which right now ranks 17th according to Rivals. So it was a good day for Florida State. If you got any questions, please let me know. Like I said, I'm flying solo. I don't think I've ever done a solo show before, so we appreciate you turning in. The information is going to be good. I don't know about the entertainment. All right, so listen, it was disappointing. Like I said, the longer the thing played out was Zahir Mathis, I thought the better chance Florida State had, but all tea leaves had been pointing towards Maryland, but like I said, it had not turned into a done deal until today. It was an 11th hour type thing, and I know that Florida State was still battling to try to land Mathis even this morning. So listen, you don't ever know in the NIL area where it was some of these guys, it could be more negotiation than recruiting. You don't know how these things are going to play out, but Florida State did get 3 of its 4 targets today. And looks like they have finished their 2025 class. I do have some news on the some official visits for the 2026 class. That is a bunch of kids are starting to schedule official visits now that the dead period, which started on Monday, is in effect. They can only talk to coaches via text, phone calls, DMs, all that kind of thing. Florida, they can't be on campus. Coaches can't be off campus, in schools or in homes. So we're in a dead period till March 3rd when everyone starts spring practice, or spring practice period begins on most college campuses. But there was some news on some official visits being set up with Florida State. The first one I'll go with is the number 1 offensive guard prospect in America, Lamar Brown from Baton Rouge University Lab, has set up an official visit with FSU for June 6th. He's also going to visit Miami, LSU, and Texas A&M. We've got more information on that at theosceola.com. You can go to our message boards, and you'll get the latest information on that. Yesterday, I was texting with Hezzy Kent, the number 10 ranked tight end in the class of 2026, and he confirmed with me that he was going to visit FSU to take his official visit on June 15th and be in town through the 17th. He's also going to visit University of Florida, Miami, Texas, and Alabama. And right now, those are the only 5 he has planned, and those will run from the end of May through the end of June, really. And all these guys have received. Lamar Brown had received a in-school visit from Gus Malzahn about a week and a half ago. Coach Chris Thompson was in Hezzy Kent School late last week. Cam Brooks got a visit from Mike Norvell late last week, and he has scheduled an official visit with Florida State For June 6th, he will also visit Clemson, Cal, and Miami. But obviously, Cam, as a prospect at Florida State, has been recruiting a lot. And he was supposed to be at Junior Day last week. Ended up not coming, but I think he's had something going on health-wise with his shoulder, if I remember seeing the picture correctly. Another offensive lineman that Florida State's going to bring in for an official visit is Brandon Anderson. He's going to come visit Florida State on June 13th. He also has official visits set with Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee. Some guys that have already setting the official visits that do not have Florida State set for. Now these things are going to change. Trenton Henderson announced that the defensive end from the Pensacola area, he announced today or yesterday that he has set 2 official visits. He has set an official visit with Alabama and one with Florida. Now, he was here a couple of weeks ago for an unofficial visit for Junior Day, and what he told the Osceola then when we interviewed him, and that interview is on our message board because I did update his official visits today, but Trenton told us at that time, and it was just 3 weeks ago, and recruiting can change. We all know that. FSU and Auburn were the 2 teams that are leading the way, so I think it's more of a formality before he announces that he will be taking an official visit to Florida State. I would be surprised otherwise. Another prospect that was on campus not too long ago, I think it was last week, Genevri Carr, the offensive guard center. Now he's rated the number 14 interior offensive line prospect in 2026. He has scheduled OVs with Florida, Miami, Georgia, and South Carolina. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out with Florida State. Obviously, he was a kid that Herb Hand has been aware of since UCF, and they have a relationship dating back to him being offered by UCF. So, listen, he's only got 4 set. There's a lot of these kids are going to take 6 to 8. I talked to a kid named Zayden Crimpin, who Herb Hand, 4-star offensive tackle out in Texas, and he set 4 early this week, but he texted me and said, hey, Florida State's not out of it. I just haven't figured out how I'm going to get to everywhere I want to go in June. He's going to come on campus, I believe, in March, check out for an unofficial visit, then decide whether he wants to come for an official visit. So what we're doing is I'm just giving you updates on where some of these top targets and some of Florida State's some of the guys they put in a lot of work in recruiting are what they're doing now, whether Florida State has been set or not. The last guy I want to talk about is Caden Prothro, the tight end / receiver from Georgia. He is a kid that has been on Florida State's campus a tremendous amount of times, dating back to last summer, where he was just a standout at their elite camps. Really a good player. Looks like Florida State may be slipping a little bit there. They've got a great relationship with him, and he's only scheduled 4 official visits right now: Georgia, Bama, Auburn, and Florida. So I think there's plenty of time for Florida State to get back in there. Like I said, they have a good relationship with Caden. But really, getting Lamar Brown on campus, getting him set for an official visit, getting Hezzy Kent on here, who I believe is probably FSU's top tight end target next to Caden Prothro. I think both those guys are very high up on their boards. And obviously Cam Brooks, getting him on campus, we'll probably see him. I would imagine you'll see him several times before then for unofficial visits. Brandon Anderson, we had not seen him for junior days, so a little bit surprised when I saw that one. But that's a lot of people think Tennessee is the leader there, so we'll see how that plays out. But he is going to be on campus June 13th. Well, we said it was going to be short and sweet today, and it is. We were basically coming on because we had not seen where Chasden Brown was going. And we were hoping for Florida State's sake that Zahir Mathis might end up signing the dotted line or committing to Florida State, but he has committed to Maryland today. If you're just joining us, this is a quick recap show for the Osceola, and they have finished signing their 2025 class by all accounts with the additions of Antonio Cromartie Jr., Chasden Brown, and Chavez Thompson. We have film breakdowns on all 3 of these guys at theosceola.com. We've got a ton of news on our message boards about new offers. Florida State has offered 2 rivals top 250 prospects for the class of 2027. Again, you can go to theosceola.com or floridastate.rivals.com to check out that. We have links to their profile, their offer list, and their huddle tape, so you can get a pretty good idea of why Florida State offered these guys when you watch their film. But there's plenty of news on the Osceola regarding recruiting. But we want to thank you for tuning in as Florida State fills out its 2025 recruiting class, which finishes right now, technically, 17th in American college football. So a good day for Florida State with the addition of Chasden Brown, Chavez Thompson, and Antonio Cromartie Jr. I believe we have a 3:00 show coming up with a baseball show. So I'm going to jump off here so those guys can get ready to go. But we want to thank you for tuning in. If you're not an Osceola YouTube subscriber, please hit the YouTube button and subscribe to the Osceola and send up Osceola YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button so that and the notification button so that you're alerted when we're doing these live or taped. Now that we're getting back into the swing of things with baseball and spring football season, we will go back to a regular schedule. But we did want to come and give you the latest on FSU's 2025 recruiting class. If you're not a subscriber to the Osceola website, please go to theosceola.com and floridastate.rivals.com. We have our basketball head coaching search hot board. You're going to hear a lot of names, Luke Laux, Dennis Gates, guys like that. But Bob and Kurt Weiler are leading the charge on that, and they have the latest news and rumblings that they are hearing about Florida State's search for a new head basketball coach with the announcement that Leonard Hamilton would resign at the end of the season. Obviously, he's been an institution at Florida State, the all-time winningest coach, and obviously, I think they got 4 home games left after last night's win against Notre Dame. So we're hoping that Coach Ham has a very successful end of the year. Nice little run here. Got a nice little win over Notre Dame last night. But for all the latest news on FSU's head basketball coach search, please go to theosceola.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Osceola Seminole Sidelines.